Okay guys, this is the third part of the 13-1 video series about the quadratic formula. So far in class we have done the quadratic formula where you get two solutions. Well, there isn't always going to be two solutions. Alright, so this part is talking about the discriminant, and the discriminant tells us how many solutions we're going to have. Okay, the discriminant is this part of the quadratic formula. It's the radicand right here. It's the first thing that you type into your calculator when you're trying to simplify the quadratic formula. So far we've done ones where the discriminant was positive, and that would mean there's two solutions. And if you look back in all the things we've done, then we've had two solutions every time, a plus solution and a minus solution. However, if you type all your radicand expression into your calculator and you get a 0, that means there's only one solution, and I'll show you why that happens. And if your radicand or your discriminant is negative, then there are no solutions at all. So positive gives you 1, 0, or positive gives you 2, 0 gives you 1, and negative gives you no solutions. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Okay, one solution means the discriminant ends up being 0. So we've got our expression here, and start subbing in negative 16, 4ac all over 2a. Okay, that's what it looks like all subbed in. Okay, so we would we would simplify this part. I always have you guys do it on the calculator because it's faster and easier, but you can simplify it by hand as well. Okay, and we're also simplifying the denominator. And when I type all that in, I get a 0 under the radical. Now, the square root of 0, we don't talk about the square root of 0 much because it's kind of captain obvious. The square root of 0 is 0, because 0 times 0 would be 0. 16 plus 0 is 0, 16 is 16, and 16 minus 0 is 16. So it doesn't matter if I add or subtract 0 to 16, it's 16. So 16 over 4 is the only division we can make, and the answer is just 4. Just one solution. Okay? Now let's talk about one with no solutions. Okay, no solutions means when I do the discriminant, I will get a negative. So here's my A's, my B's, my C's. Sub in. And that's the expression. That's what I get. Okay, with everything subbed in. And let's look at the discriminant specifically. I mean, we're going to multiply 2 times 2 because we can and it's easy, but we're going to look specifically at the discriminant. And what I get is a negative 31 in here. If I get a negative number in a square root, I can't take a negative of a square root. So at this point, I don't go any further. I just say there are no real solutions because I can't take the square root of a negative. So I'm done. No real solutions. Okay, so this is like a little chart that we did in class of just comparing 3 problems side by side, one with 2 solutions, one with 1 solution, one with no solutions. Okay, so I'm going to go through this a little bit faster. Here is 2 solutions, okay? Sub everything in. Once I have everything subbed in, I'll simplify under the radical. And I get a positive number. I have a positive discriminant. So because our discriminant's positive, I'm going to have 2 solutions. So the square root of 64 is positive 8 and minus 8. So I sub both of those possibilities in. Okay, 2 plus 8 is 10 over 2, and 2 minus 8 is negative 6 over 2. And that simplifies to 5 and negative 3. And I'm bringing back the graph to kind of connect back to things that we've done in more recent chapters. And if you look at the graph, the parabola crosses the x-axis at negative 3 and 5. Okay, so the solutions in the graph are the same as the solutions you get algebraically, which makes sense, right? All right, one solution. Sub everything in, and then look at the discriminant, and multiply 2 times 1 as well. Now this time my discriminant, when I simplify everything in here, I get a 0. So that tells me I'm only going to have one solution. So I'm just going to have 6 over 2 because the square root is 0. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. Nice, it's a little bit less work, one line less work. And if I look at the graph, I see that the parabola touches the x-axis once at its vertex. Okay. All right, let's talk about no solutions. Sub in your A, your B, and your C. If when I simplify my discriminant, I get a negative, my discriminant is negative, so therefore there are no real solutions. It's super tempting with a number like 16 to want to give that a square root of 4 or negative 4 somehow, but it doesn't. Negative numbers do not have real square roots. And if we look down at the parabola, you'll see that it does not cross the x-axis. So there's no real solutions to this. Now, one thing I wish I had typed in here is that this equals 0, because that's kind of important, and I missed typing that. Okay. All right, so that is our lesson on the discriminant. You now have everything you need to know in order to complete homework 13-1, and that'll be due Monday. And we will have a quiz on Tuesday. Have a great weekend, and I hope you subscribe.